All right, howdy, folks. Welcome back. Told you I'd be back. All right, so let's back out of this and get over to our solar report because we got a long spiritual report to do tonight. So let's get this taken care of and get her done. Actually, you know what? Let's leave it zoomed in here real quick. Um, there's our date up above, December 11th, 2023, turning December 12th right about now. So, all right, here's our sun diving comet coming in. We got a beauty. Something we need to talk about sun diving comets here too, but sometimes they cause a CME. And notice how, as it approaches, we have this CME that approaches it. Well, wait until we get a little closer in on it and you're going to see something here. So let me just back out a little bit so I can use the buttons and find the frames that I want. All right, so boom, right about there. Let me go one more frame. Is it that one? All right, you can see as we back out here, you see our CME coming out. You see this little dent in the instrumentation right there, and as we get closer, now I think that's probably best right there. It looks like they're on a collision course, and the comet actually goes just above it and barely misses this thing. So let's go to the next frame. Boom, right past it. Okay, and then let me just back up real quick. So you see these two kind of coming at each other. Almost makes me wonder if this comet was heading more towards this than the sun. But they missed each other. It went right underneath it. This went over. Still continues to arc towards the sun. We will go into tomorrow already. Let me back out of this one. We can get you over here to the 12th, the first day of Christmas. And there's the rest of this comet diving towards the sun. Okay. Beautiful capture here. We haven't seen a good sun diver like this in a long time. A lot of people are speculating if it's going to make it around the backside and come out the other side, or if it's just going to slam into the sun and disintegrate. At perihelion here, when it makes its its fastest approach around the sun and whips around it, that's where they usually tend to either disintegrate or burn up in the sun. If this one's big enough, going fast enough, has the right trajectory, while whipping around the backside of the sun, if it doesn't get disintegrated, and evaporated by the sun, it could explode, as it rounds the backside of the sun at its perigee, and starts to whip out. There's a lot of forces right there that could crack it open, and it could come out the backside in multiple pieces, like a shotgun blast type effect. All right. Now, I don't think that's what's going to happen here. I pray it doesn't, but that is a concerning factor sometimes with these bigger sun diving comets. Is, are they big enough? Do they have this velocity? Are they tightly packed enough to survive the whip around the backside of the sun? Because there's a lot of centrifugal forces going on there. It's at its highest velocity. The sun's affecting it and everything. Okay, so these sun diving comets, they're beautiful to look at, and usually the sun just gobbles them right up, and we don't have anything to worry about. Bigger ones like this can whip around the backside and come out. All right, now there's probably no trajectory forecasted. If this thing were to stay in a solid piece and make it around, it could come out at a different angle. If it cracks open and splinters in segments into a bunch of pieces while on the backside of the sun and comes whipping around and comes out in in a clump of pieces, almost like a shotgun blast, a bunch of small pieces, packed in a grouping, that could come out the other side of the sun and scatter away. We'll see what happens here. It's very interesting that we're getting this right now. So, and then also, I just want to kind of point out here. Well, let me go back to the other image the day before here real quick. Now, they do cause CMEs, usually when they get a little closer to the sun. This CME reached out to it way out here. All right, and let me just kind of go back to this image right here. You can see the curvature of the plasma on the back side of this. Okay, you can see this curvature right here. That's the plasma trailing on the back side of this object. And if we get it almost, you can see it's really faint, a round black object right there with a big old smiley face on it. Cool. Alrighty, whatever. So, these almost collided. That would have been interesting if this were to impact one of our objects. That could cause some something different, a scattering effect as well. But it doesn't. It missed it and went past it. But that's just the odds of those two out of the whole screen. It didn't set off a CME on the other side, making the sun react on the opposite pole. It reached right out to this. So that is also telling me this is probably a good-sized comet. It's going to be interesting to see what happens once this comes out the backside, if it does. Okay, a lot of people are saying it might not. So anyways, there's your sun diving comet for the 11th and now the 12th, okay, because we're going into the 12th now. All right, so there's that. Let's get on over to our solar report here. Okay, let me zoom in on the GOES X-ray. I like this version better than the other one. It's got more colors. No. Anyways, you can see our box for today, the 11th, right here. Okay, we're already going into the 12th. And that little spike right there, we saw a little pop there on the 12th. That wasn't much. All right, but you can see our bumpy ride for today. Just boom, hills and valleys and peaks and boom, 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 boom. So it doesn't look like much, but it is some activity going on. If you look at the day before, it was a lot more productive, we'll say active. Here it's a little less active, but still there's activity going on. And at a couple points here, well, there's multiple points here where it dropped below the seafloor. So it had an event, drop below the seafloor. Had an event, drop below the seafloor. Another event below. Event below. Event below. Event below. Event below. It did it, what, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. 11 times in one day, it went below the seafloor, had an event, went below the seafloor after it, had another event that went up above. So we had all these little sea flare activities while it's dropping below the seafloor there. Okay, so anyways, let's I've been watching you forever. Why am I so exhausted this week? Why are you so exhausted? Because I am. You're feeling side effects from me and from this, the Schumann, all kinds of stuff in bombarding you. We'll get into that as we go through the show there. Howdy to everybody tonight in the chat there. Sorry I didn't greet you all. I'm just kind of in a hurry to get through this because there has been quite the capture that we need to cover. All right. As we continue on, M flare potential is 55% now, X flare up to 10% now, so we are kind of volatile right now. Here's the M class flare at 2.3. That was from yesterday. Okay. We still have this one region 3513 to watch out for and worry about there. Some different space weather. No, I don't want that. I want the auroras. And you can see our KP index up here just before it changes over here. It's been really low. Okay. Extremely low. Which, not good either. It's got to be a little bit. All right, here's our current conditions with our auroras. It's been pretty light lately. Pretty good space weather. You know, we haven't been taking too much on the chin lately. Mild activity. Still a little bit right here, but it's not too bad lately. All right, there we go. So we're back out of this. I don't think there's anything on the tracker because we haven't had anything really come our way in a while. Just gonna let it upload real quick first. Yeah, I don't see anything on there. Even though we did see that small CME reach out to that sun diver, it's not showing any kind of CME right there. Okay, so interesting thing about these sun divers too. You know what? Let me zoom in on this because I want to use this actual instrument as a reference. We get a little bit closer so we can. All right. This is looking from top down on our solar system. You're looking down on the top of the sun and down on the top of the earth, so you can see the CME is coming off in our direction, right? Okay. What was it about the sun diver? So when we have these sun diving comets, they always seem to come like out of this quadrant, whip around, and go, you know, if they do make it around, they go back behind the Earth. They're always coming from behind us, right? It never seems like we see one come, you know, we won't see it because the sun will be blocking it, and then it whip around right in front of the sun and explode. Or pass, you know, have its perigee right here in front of us. If it came in at this angle and whipped around that way, you know, we wouldn't see it because the sun would be blinding us, but once it got right in here, we'd be able to kind of see it with our filters and everything, right? How come they're always coming this way or coming that way from behind us and never coming this way and going away? Just something to wonder about. I've never seen one come in at a weird angle and then go backwards the other way. They always seem to be coming from behind the Earth, wrapping around the sun, away from us. So like that perigee point right here, when it comes in, wraps around right here, this apex point right here is always away from us. It's never on this side. You see what I'm saying? Because it can come in this way or come in this way. It never really comes in this way and goes out. So just something I wanted to point out there while we had this instrument going up here. All right, let me get out of here and continue on. All right, I'm a little stressed here, but thankfully we got some people here. They're interested. All right. The Betelgeuse occultation was a dud. The reports, the asteroid that passed in between Betelgeuse didn't really occult it at all. So that was a dud. Here's a little ditty of your sundiver. They call it the Kamikaze Comet. Is a member of the Kreutz. Here, let me zoom this in while we read it so you guys can read along if you want. This Kamikaze Comet is a member of the Kreutz Sungrazer family, named after the 19th century German astronomer who studied them in detail. Kreutz Sungrazers are fragments from the breakup of a giant comet. Wow, at least 2,000 years ago. So you remember I was just talking about a breakup of a comet. So this is a fragment from the breakup of a giant comet at least 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago? A lot of stuff that happened 2,000 years ago happening again. Interesting time frame. Several of these fragments pass by the sun and disintegrate every day. Most are too small to see. This fragment is a big exception. By now, the comet has been vaporized. The next batch of SOHO data will probably show a small cloud of debris and decapitation tail emerging from behind the sun. Rest in peace, comet. All right, so they seem to think that it's going to break up and come out as a cloud of debris. All right, that would be similar to the clump of fragments, a cloud of debris, similar to the shotgun blast effect that I was talking about. All right, so we'll see what happens here in the next little while. All right, let's get out of here. I want to get over to the Schumann. Here we go. Hope everybody's hanging tough these days. It's getting crazy out there. Everybody trying to grow Christmas shop, and the economy's tough, so everybody's strapped for cash. I know it's stressful, but you're doing the best you can, and that's all we can do is the best we can, one day at a time. All right. As you can see, we have had a small little scraping event right here. Leading up to it, do you see this weakening field right here? Okay, it almost looks like it was in anticipation of this scraping event. Anyway, we have another little weak band right here. Okay, so we had this scraping event right here that wasn't much. All right, it did have this frequency down here at 24. And here we go again with this odd little frequency down here at 24 again, this little white line showing up. Even when we had this like lull in the screeching right here. See our Schumann's going along just fine, our magnetic field's going along just fine. There's not much scraping going on. But down here, we had this harmonic vibration at 24 hertz. Okay? And then it continues a little bit once it starts scraping again. All right, so something way down deep going on down. I think where the mantle and the magma and the bottom of the crust meet. Probably these are kind of layers. These radio waves, once they hit the crust, they slow down. The crust is thicker. It's harder for the waves to move through it, so the waves slow down. So the higher frequencies would be down here in the magma. The slower frequencies would be kind of up here. So this almost seems to give us a profile of our crust through harmonics. It's pretty amazing how this is turning out. Anyways, here's our little scraping event. You can see that it's lighting up down here again, right in this zone. It's got this weird little grid pattern that is starting to form again here. So we'll watch it closely. Can you see these little tiny little segmented lines? They're almost like yeah, you can see them barely there. There's some up here at top. It's almost starting to look like that grid work type pattern that we saw on this instrument a few months back. Anyways, we'll watch this kind of closely. We're having some weird activity, so, and wait until you see the weird activity we're having. You're gonna know how I feel every day. And it'll hopefully won't shock you guys too much. You're used to seeing some pretty shocking stuff on this channel, but Later tonight, you saw the thumbnail. Yeah, if you could see the thumbnail, there's something in that thumbnail. So as we go into our earthquake report, looks like we have a recent quake. It's a deep quake. Let me get you guys all settled in here. There you go. All right. So our latest quake right here, 4.2 off of Fiji, down at a depth of 532. So we just had a deep quake, some recent deep activity just now right here at Fiji. Let's check this quake below it. This was earlier in the day, a 4.8 down at 561. So now we have two deep quakes today, all right? The second just recent. After that first deep one, we had a 5.8 here at a depth of 260 and a 5.7 right here at the top of this little system right here, okay? Something came over here, 4.8 at 118. Close out right there. Come up here to our 5.0 at a depth of 64. There's two quakes here, sorry. Another 5.0 at a depth of 10, and the smaller one is a 4.9, so basically a 5.0. Three 5.0s right here on this plate boundary. Some energy being released right there, creeping up through the system. Okay, we get over here. We'll do this one last, but let's just do these real quick. Just off of Java is another 5.0. Okay, here on Sumatra, this is where our volcano is another 5. Okay, so not only are we having volcanic activity now, let me just show you. Here's our volcano right here. This little white spot right here is our volcano. And here's our 5.0 right next to it. Okay, so a lot of energy being released in this region right here. Okay, and we pointed out the other day when we were over here when this new Merapi went off. Look at this old caldera that has collapsed and has a lake sitting in it. So you could see that this little line of volcanoes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these little twins right here, all kind of lead up to this bigger old caldera. Let's pray to God that thing doesn't wake up and blow up, all right? Because the pressure is being relieved right next to it. So hopefully that thing's plugged up, and this is our new little vent area, is that Merapi. All right, so side by side, volcano and earthquake going off right there because we have more pressure underneath. Okay, we have this little flurry. Did you notice how all of our quakes have been 5s, and there's no like mid-range 4s yet? So here we go with another 5 at a depth of 10. That one is on this plate, okay? Let's come over to the other plate. A 4.5, there's some mid-range 4 finally. 4.7, but here's another 5. 4.7 and a 4.6. This is a good disbursement of energy being relieved in this area, our new little weak spot, and it's not doing a lot of damage. I mean, the big quake did, but this residual quake swarm, or the aftershocks that have been hitting this area for a while, have been releasing a lot of the pent up energy that we needed. It's just like overinflating a balloon, it's going to pop. But if there's a small little pinhole in it, no matter how much air you push into it, it's still going to relieve some pressure. So here's like one of our little pinholes type effect. Same with the volcano and the earthquake over here, is where our weak spot in the crust is releasing energy. Okay. As we look up in this region, again, very, very quiet. All right. No earthquake activity means there's going to have to be some kind of volcanic activity. We still see stuff going off here on the peninsula, up here, the Kamchatka Peninsula, down into Japan still has volcanoes going off, all right? So, but look how naked the map is right now, all right? Any little inbound energy could, set these off again. But for the moment, we got 4.4 up here, small little cluster of 2s. Over here in California, we have a 3.4 up at Quincy and a little 2.7 at the Geysers. Not much. A couple of little weak ones down here in Texas, right on the border. Don't really need to check those. All right, so pretty quiet. We do have probably a 5 here, 5.5 at a depth of 194. That mid-range 4 that went off earlier that put that 5 energy in here, and the 5 energy going up through there, pushed across, set it off over here. Okay. Ooh, here's a new quake right here. I bet it's a 5. 5.2. So we have had a slight increase in our magnitudes from the mid-range 4s to, we've been bumped up to 5s. This whole map is just covered with 5 after 5 after 5. Let me go right here. Here's another 5.1 at a depth of 9 right there. Right next to it is a 5.7. That's probably our biggest quake right there, 5.7 at a depth of 10. So a couple of mid-range 5s right here. And then our latest one right here, close to the three-way junction, is a 5.2. So we have just had, since I went live, a 4.2 and a 5.2 right here. Activity's kind of picking up a little bit. It's not much, but we do have a little upgrade in the pressure down below, and it's pushing out 5s right now, or today. Also, we'll come over here to this little flurry, this little quake swarm that's been going on. Not so much so today, just a couple of quakes. But here you go, another 5.0 and a 4.8. So there's your, 5 energy right there being distributed. So pretty overall 5-day. High 5, give me 5. Look out. There's a 4.9, almost a 5. It's down at 144. So at the surface, this one up here at this fulcrum point here, 4.9 at 144, might as well call it a 5. Very quiet right in this zone again. We were seeing activity where these two plates have been meeting up right in this zone. So very quiet here. This fulcrum point hasn't been released in a while, so watch this region for potential, activity. Another 5. See how they did creep up this way, even though we have volcano activity. Let me back out just a tad bit. All right, see how they came across, went up this way, and even though we still got volcano activity here on Java and this new one on Sumatra right here, we did see this little bulge in the 5 activity come across, hit here, skip down to here. So I would expect probably a 5 right in this area, or around this fulcrum point. Maybe even up here in China now. You see this rest of the system is naked here. What do you think is going to happen right here at our new weak spot? Everybody say it. Yep, I heard you. You're all in sync. You all said 5. What do you think might happen here at this fulcrum point? Yep. Say it again. It could possibly happen right here. Another 5. All right. So I don't think much will happen here. We haven't seen much activity here except for the one quake right here at the peninsula that wasn't even much. So this seems to be quiet for a while. Let's let it stay quiet. Let these volcanoes do their job and keep any big quakes from, big energy piling up and storing up in this energy and popping off a big quake. All right. So a little bit of heads up for Taiwan, Japan, that little spot right there, as well as directly across over here. Okay. And, it'll creep up. It'll probably get pinched off, come over here 3, mid 3 or something like that. Come over, maybe possibly drop off something in the Juan de Fuca to 3 to mid 3. That's what it's been like lately. I think we covered all. I'm going to keep that one open, though, because we might be popping back to it later. Okay, just real quick, let's come over here to our polar vortex. All right. Now, Let me rotate it around here a little bit. I want you to get a reference for where America is. All right. Now you can see that split. We have the subvortex coming off in a different direction. That split kind of backed up a little bit. It's, half is going backwards across the country, a little bit is shunting down and then going off that way. So it seems to have like shifted back this way a little bit where it was creeping that way for a while. Also, something I want to point out here. Now look at this. This is going to trip you out. This flow that comes off and peels back it goes basically from this part of the country all the way back across the Pacific Ocean to Japan and the Kamchatka Peninsula. That's how big that subvortex off of our polar vortex is, okay? So you can see, let me pull back a little bit. There we go. You can see this is a subvortex off of our main polar vortex, okay? The feed over here is coming like right out of Florida, right off the Gulf of Mexico. Probably the hottest water on the planet. Well, it's transitioning to down here, but still, the Gulf of Mexico, very hot, very moist, a lot of potential for kicking up storms, moist air, right? It's actually the feed to the polar vortex. The polar vortex is down in Africa. Look at this. Remember we were talking about Morocco? Look at this. The polar vortex is down into Morocco. Northern Saudi Arabia. Now, I want you to see this. This is another pretty cool effect here. All right. So, the continent of Africa, right here. Okay, you can see it. There's Africa. We have down it. Let me pull back just a little bit. I wanted to capture this pretty cool. Welcome to the tilt. Yeah. All right. Check out what's going on in Africa right now. Up at the higher levels, we have air flowing this way, then air flowing this way, air going back across this way, and air going that way across the very northern part of Africa. So let's just kind of look at the conveyor belt. I won't make you too dizzy to where you lose your dinner. But quite an interesting little flow segment we got going on during transition right here, especially for the continent of Africa, with this up here, this going this way, the midsection going that way, and the bottom going that way. So also this moist air, the feed, coming with the colder, mixing together over Europe and England and Ireland. That's where we just saw that footage of tornado in Ireland. Okay, so because they're right in the sweet spot, kind of. All right, so let's get out of there. Come over to the forecast, the weather, and we are having a little break in our weather, but something we do need to talk about is this next event that's coming up. It keeps changing because, well, the weather changes. But you see now, it's kind of doing a little something here in Florida. Instead of skirting up the coast like we saw, earlier this week, this next storm seems to be more focused down in this region. So when the loop comes back around, we're going to focus on that for right now. And bingo. All right, so current conditions. Let me just pull this down a little bit. And let's just march through this. This is the morning of the 12th, noon, convection, the night, morning of the 13th. We have this little bit of feed coming up in here into Texas, morning of the 13th. Then it spreads out during the noontime, even blossoms harder during convection. And that's the nighttime now. So it combines with this and makes snow at nighttime now. That's the morning of the 14th, noontime. Now you see down here we still have this potential rotating around there. So the noontime of the 14th into the end of convection. You see how this is starting to gather up right here? There's snow on the backside, even possible icing right in the very middle of that pocket. From there, we go into the nighttime of the 14th, where we have this intense weather blossoming in that spot, in that pocket right there. Okay, so the chance for severe weather, the nighttime of the 14th, right here in the Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle region there. It actually shifts more down towards Fort Worth in the morning there of the 15th. This is the noon time of the 15th. So we start off already the morning of the 15th with severe weather, moisture. The cocktail is hot and mixed. It's ready to go. Already during the morning, we have severe weather. So it blossoms into the noontime, even more as it comes into Louisiana at the end of convection. So this is one to watch. Into the nighttime, it's still there, nocturnal severe weather, even into the morning as it goes into Louisiana. This is the noontime, Louisiana. Now look at this here coming into Florida. Let me back up a little bit. So I wish I had buttons down below. All right, come on now. I want to do is slide this back. Thank you. So maybe what I'll do is, since we're focusing more on the south here, I think I can do this, zoom in, and then use these buttons down here. All right, here we go. So as you can see, we're got this creeping in here into Louisiana. This is off the coast of Florida, and it comes together here, still here, and then very intense there, and then slams right up through Florida, even Mississippi here, the panhandle of Florida, and then those two cells converge into one big low here. See how that happens? So we go back a little bit. See how there were two separate entities, and then as they get closer to each other, they mold together into one low that goes right up like this. All right, I'm going to call the times and stuff later. I just kind of wanted to do this so you guys can see it up close while I got it zoomed in. Okay, so that's where we picked up right there. Let me zoom back out one notch. Well, let me use the buttons up here with time and date stamps. I think the time and date stamps are kind of important, so it gives you guys an idea. There's holiday travel coming up again for a lot of people. Maybe not for you guys, but for some people. So this is the region to kind of watch out for as we approach the Christmas holiday traveling season now. So where we pick up here, this is the morning of the 16th, okay? That's not too far away. This was probably, going to be pretty accurate, or it might change some, but this is not too far out to where it's going to change. So the morning of the 16th, then we get into the noon time of the 16th. It hits Florida, hitting Louisiana. By the end of convection on the 16th, we have it in Mississippi, all the way up through Florida right here. This is where these things converge at convection, or start to converge, is at sundown when they're at their peak. It's so strong that these even blossom harder at night as this storm converges with the other one. And now, as we hit the morning of the 17th, this is looking like a tropical depression, small land hurricane hitting Florida, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. The morning of the 17th. Then, by noon, you see how it's really wound up and rotated in here. We got really tight millibars right here. It's going to be a lot of wind. This has the chance for tornadoes. When we got really tight millibars like this, we'll have to see what happens when these two merge like this, but not good. So that's the noon of the 17th, the end of convection the 17th. Depending on what we have happen on the sun 3 days later, the 14th, if we have any inbound energy that arrives in cahoots with this, by the end of convection, this could be a little bit more than it is. Let's pray that it just stays like it is. Right here, you got severe weather in South Carolina, back here into Alabama, And you see this rotating. This is going to pull a lot of water off the Atlantic and hit the eastern seaboard. There's going to be a lot of flooding in this area. There's the severe weather at nighttime. So let me back up from convection. You see it rotating up here. Then as more rotates up at nighttime, it shifts up to here. There's, oh, here we go. So then we get into the morning of the 18th. There's still chance for severe weather in there. Okay. Then noontime the 18th. Then as we get to the end of convection, this whole energy has shifted. The frontal boundary has kind of shifted up to here, off the coast of Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts area. So this jump from here to here could possibly swipe right through the East Coast, right through New York, Long Island, and in that region between that frame and this frame. So between the noontime and the convection, the end of convection on the 18th, watch out here in New York City. They might be, a sneaky little storm might sneak in there. That's the nighttime as it goes up through Nova Scotia and finally clears out into the Atlantic Ocean the morning of the 19th. Okay, so this whole thing, we have starts off as two independent weather systems. This one right here, the little pocket down here. You see the severe here. Then right there, right, these last couple frames as they get closer. This is severe weather here on Louisiana and severe weather all the way up through Florida, the Tampa Bay region and stuff. When these come together right at like this curvature here, this bay in Florida, we're talking water spouts making landfall from like right here in Florida to up the coast into Tampa, up into the panhandle there by the nighttime. And that's that storm coming together. You see how this one has kind of come back over and looped around this other one? It's eating it. It's cannibalizing that other storm and combining. So that's going to give it more energy. Something to watch here. It has changed a little bit, but it's still hammering Florida now. So we'll let that loop play real quick while I get the tonight's spiritual report ready. And something else that I'm doing now, since we are about 2 weeks out, about 12 days out, 13 days out from Christmas. That's the 12 days of Christmas. So I'm going to start doing a little video series in our spiritual report. We're going to do a little dot to dot and connect some dots and show you a picture. It's a hidden picture that you can't see unless you connect the dots. Alright, so we're going to, each night through the 12 days of Christmas, we're going to rehash all this stuff. And on Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve will be the final in the series. And it'll be a little gift to you guys for Christmas morning. Okay, so I plan on doing that here starting tonight. This will be the first day of Christmas for me because I want this series to end Christmas Eve night, and that gives me 12 days from now, the 12th. Okay, so we're done there. Let me just kind of close out. What can we, I want to keep that. We get rid of this, and we can, if we can, just bear with me while I close out a couple things here, because I want, there we go. So, okay, so we were talking about sunset and how the shadows capture, well, we're getting an ad now, come on now, I had this set up. Yeah, we're getting an ad. Hang on, this guy, tell me how to make millions online. Alright, there we go. Now, I want to get back to this image right here. Okay. I'm going to even zoom it in there and just let that sit there for a minute and see if you guys see what's going on in that image. This is Hampton Roads, Virginia, just the other day. Now, do you see God's paintbrush? Do you see what he's doing here? Remember I was telling you about giant faces in the clouds? During sunset, while we were talking about it, it happened. So, quite the event right here, alright? The longer you look at this, and you kind of soak it in. Here, let me just even play this real quick. This is Third Phase of Moon, so we'll go over to their video, over their channel, give them some love. This is emailed to them from one of their viewers who took a picture. This is what I see in the sky all the time. I'm kind of done taking pictures of it, but somebody else caught quite a shot here. So let's just play this real quick, and you can see the street below there, and you can see how big this face is in the clouds. All right, and bisected kind of down the middle, black on one side, white on the other. And I looked in these little pockets. There are eyes in those pockets. I'll even try to capture a good spot where we can see that again. But imagine looking down your street, looking up into the clouds at sunset, and seeing this giant face right there. Alrighty, so let me just kind of pause it right there. It's not even really visible in the picture, but when we tint it out, there's an eye in there. And you can make out the other one barely. If you come over here, I'll leave the link to their channel in the description here. But come over to Third Phase of Moon if you don't know about this channel already. But one of their viewers captured, they saw it. Probably scared the shit out of them too. They were probably petrified for the rest of the day after looking at that. They probably were shook when they got home, just rattled, alright? So, don't let this stuff rattle you. I'm trying to show you this stuff now, so when it does really happen, you'll be able to capture it. You'll know what to look for. You'll see it. You'll understand what's going on, and it won't rattle you so much, alright? So, oh, good. Some people here sub to them. Yeah, so, not trying to steal their show or nothing, but this is my realm, okay? This is the stuff I deal in. They don't even know how to approach this. His actual commentary, we're going to play his actual commentary during this segment for a minute. Because I don't want to misquote him, and I want you to hear, what's his name? I can't even think of his name right now. There's so many names in my head right now, it is off the hook. Alright, we're just going to play this anyways. Brett, or,
these technologies are supposedly out there. People have been messing around with them.
They're thinking it might be a HAARP.
Somebody sent us this. What's going on over here in Virginia, Hampton?
You guys know what's going on in Virginia?
Some people might say this is pareidolia or something else. Maybe weather manipulation. It's terrifying as all that, right? Terrified. Is this pareidolia or something else? Maybe weather manipulation. It's terrifying as all that, right?
Okay, terrifying as all heck, huh? Alright, so that's what's going on in our skies. Alright, so That's what to look for during sunset in some of these storms. I watched the storm chasers, and they're driving into some of these storms, and the cloud structure has a giant face in it like this, and they're driving right into it. And little do they know, they're all scurrying around like there's 20 storm chasers all going up and down the streets underneath this storm, different directions, trying to get ahead of the storm or whatever, while they're running around like ants down on the ground. There's these giant faces in the clouds looking down at the storm chasers. If you can imagine that. So sometimes if you do watch those guys, just take a peek in the sky in the background every once in a while when they're filming a tornado. You might see something like this, all right? Something else that's kind of funny. It looks odd, but let's see if we can capture it. Off to the side of his face here, this cloud over here is way off in the background, right? It's not part of this face or anything, but it does have this odd profile of Trump holding a microphone. You can see Trump's hair, his profile, his face, his head, and his hair right there. Let me just get this a little bit better here. There we go. It's kind of like the profile of Trump holding the microphone. I don't know, that one's probably not, but the face is definitely there, okay? I told you the spiritual realm showing up in the clouds, and boy, are they going to be in for a surprise one day when one of these faces actually starts moving, starts talking, growling, spitting lightning. All right? We'll go back to the very beginning of this real quick and let them play this clip again. And right at sunset, do you see how God's using the colors and the shading of the nostrils and the lips? He's actually crying blood. You see this right here, this orange strip, this red strip with the tears? All right, so there's that. We'll freeze frame it right there. It's probably pretty good. So you can see this telephone pole here, these little lines of telephone poles. That gives you an idea of how big this stuff is in the sky and why it's hard to see. You look up and you're looking at this pretty little pink cloud and this one's right here, right? It's not until you're back, like this person is way back from it, that you look up and oh my goodness, there's a giant face in the sky staring right at you. All right. So there's that. Then let's come over here to, oh, we have music playing in the background. That's what it was. All right, so I'm going to come over here for the first day of Christmas. Oh, really? You're going to add me on my channel? Oh, I just started back over again. So this is one of my first videos. Actually, kind of my first video. All right. Right before this happened, my life was just normal, going along, doing family things, reuniting my family after being separated for a while, and it was all working out. Life was just moving along forward, nice and normal. And then on September 10th of 2017, we had this event happen here on the sun, and my life changed drastically ever since this day. And so September 10th of 2017 is 13 days before the Revelation 12 star alignment. Now, I'm sure most of you guys know about the lady with the moon draped in her feet, or this draped in the sun with her moon at her feet and a crown of 12 stars. We all know how Jupiter sat in the belly for 9 months, went retrograde in the belly of Virgo, the Virgin, for 9 months, the same period, gestation period as a human, and then left the constellation and moved on. All right, so that was a 2,000-year-old prophecy that was foretold. We figured it out with Stellarium just like months before. Somebody was running a program, and they instead of putting in a date, they put in the star alignment, and you can put in a date, and the Stellarium will line up the stars for you on that date, or you can line up the stars yourself, and it'll kick back a date. So that's what somebody did, is they lined the stars up with that configuration in that, and sure enough, it kicked out the date of September 23rd, 2017, where that actually took place. That should have rocked the world. But nope, everybody kind of just went and moved on. In the prophecy, it talks about the woman and the dragon. There was a woman draped in the sun with the moon at her feet and a crown of 12 stars. She's pregnant. She's about to give birth. Then another sign appears, a great red dragon that stands before the woman, ready to devour the child. So the way it's worded, it sounds like the dragon comes after the star alignment. But if you read it properly, it says the dragon stood before the woman, in front of the woman. Well, this is the dragon, Nibiru, with its little plasma wings here, and Nemesis, happening on September 10th, 13 days before the revelation. This is the dragon standing before the woman, in front of the woman, 13 days before, 13 days in front of the woman. This event happened, and God showed me this, and oh man, we went through a lot of me trying to figure out what this was. I couldn't even see it at first. We went through, and then when I finally saw this, we'll get into that later. But here's this part right now. Hopefully you guys can see the fabled winged planet Nibiru here. This dark, round, black object. It's surrounded by plasma. It even has these plasma, like, wings pointing back. You can see this, like, little wing curving and pointing back there. Over on the other side is another one. It's kind of in the flare, but it's faint. You can see that we have a second wing curving and pointing back there. All right. So this showed up right when it was supposed to. All right. And it took me a long time to see it. I was struggling to see it. God's like, no. You got to look at it from this perspective. You got to look at it this way. You got to take a time out. Take a break. Come back to it. Still don't see it. Try it again. Zoom in. It's the bigger picture. No, zoom out. It's the bigger picture. All this stuff I went through until finally, here we are. This solar flare is draping over a big round object right back here. All right. You can see Nibiru sticking out in front right here. This is a much bigger one in the back. You can see the CME slamming into it, still illuminated when it hits it and drapes over the top. This little shadow right here is a plasma conduit. All right. It's a conduit of plasma that's being sucked off of the sun and absorbed into this object. When it hits the surface, it spans out in a circular form, leaving this round dark circle, this round damage ring or impact zone on the surface of this spheroid right here. Okay. Now it takes a while to see because it's so, when I first saw the image I got, it was so close up in your face you couldn't see it. This has been compressed and zoomed down, and as we even go further out, it becomes even easier to see. The further out you go, okay? And it wasn't until I saw it down here, it was a bigger picture, but I saw it in the pop-up down here, compressed, and that's when I was like, oh, I see what you're trying to show me. All right, so I was commanded to make video and warn you guys about this. Now, just weeks before this, I was doing cute little videos of animals in my yard. We live in a transition zone between forest and desert, so we get the best of both worlds. That's where the predators come to eat, and it's where the prey like to, select a different kind of vegetation. So we live on a boundary. We got all these animals around, and I used to do, just videos of interesting lizards, birds, and stuff in our area. I didn't know it was practice for doing videos later on. All right, but here, let me get zoomed back into this. Now, this is Nibiru out front, rotating around this much bigger nemesis, all right? And something we need to talk about here is this white circle right here. This little white circle represents the size of the sun, okay? It's not the black circle. That's the occulter on the camera that blinds the camera that blocks out the sun so the sun doesn't blind the camera. So the black circle is the occulter. The white circle represents the size of the sun. If you can see the depth perspective, this is kind of going back at a 45-degree angle, still back into the page, okay? So this object perspective is still back behind the sun, and look how much bigger it is compared to our sun. This is probably our binary twin right here, all right? It's a dead star. It's sucking plasma off of ours, trying to recharge and reignite, all right? Every time it goes by, it sucks off more and more plasma, making our sun weaker and weaker, okay? And as our sun gets weaker and weaker, so does its magnetic field. And when its magnetic field gets weaker and weaker, so does our magnetic field. So this thing, even though it's not colliding with the Earth or, causing huge tidal surges or whatever, it is affecting us indirectly by affecting our sun, which thus in turns affect us. Okay? This thing was shown to me by God, and it was a long, arduous process until I could finally see it, and then he commanded me to warn you all about it. And I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? He goes, you're doing videos, aren't you? Why don't you change from lizards to showing everybody what I'm about to show you? I'm like, oh, okay. So, first day of Christmas, this is our first little dot in the dot to dot that we're going to do. Okay, so the hidden picture is, it's hard to see. It's like a dot to dot. You can't see what the picture is until you connect all the dots. It fills in the lines and everything and draws the bigger picture that you can't see. And that's what I'm trying to do kind of in this series, this 12 Days of Christmas. All right, so the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me Nemesis and Nibiru on a satellite on TV. Okay, so anyways, there's our first little thing that happened right here, and we still have this affecting us. All right, I thought it was going to do it much sooner, but apparently we are 6.5 years later out from this event, and that's how deep we are in. 6.5 years. This was September 10th of 2017. All right, so this is the day my life changed, and I think your life would change too if some entity started telling you about this and telling you and showing you and making you struggle to see it. And, I thought I thought it was just a solar flare like everybody else. He's like, no, keep looking, look deeper, think the bigger picture. I'm like, what are you talking about, the bigger picture? Oh, I know, zoom in. And it was already too big in the image I had, and zooming in did nothing. It wasn't until I actually left the cursor sitting on the play line when I went away and had a cigarette. He's like, go have a break, dude. So I went out, had a cigarette. When I came back, the smaller compressed image on the pop-up of the full screen picture finally revealed it to me, and I'm like, oh my God, now I see it. All right, so we have a player out there in our solar system that does a lot of damage to our sun. Okay, this was an X flare. This was probably this was the third of a series of X flares. The first one was like a 10, an X10. The next one was an X 9.8, and this third one was like an X 8.7. And everybody kind of poo-pooed this one because it wasn't as big as the first two, and I did too. I saw this image. I'm like, oh, that's that third solar flare. And I went to go past it and poo-poo it, and go look at some other video, and God was like, nope, sit down. I want you to look at this. And I'm like, what? Look closely. And I'm like, yeah, it's an X flare. It's a pretty nasty one. And no, keep looking. So now hopefully, through trials that I went through, hopefully now you guys are able to see it as well. This is never going to make the news. NASA, they probably, they'll never admit to this. All right, but you can see what's going on out there and why the reason for concern. It's not you guys that's causing global warming, or not global warming. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, somebody just came in real quick. Climate change. There we go. Here's your climate change right here. This is the factor that keeps all of our weather in a lot of turmoil. Okay, this and God. All right, this was written about 2,000 years ago as well, showing up in this time frame. All the other Nibiru chasers were looking for it, and everybody missed it. Everybody, all these other channels, all these professional Nibiru guys, they all missed it. I'm not even a Nibiru guy. I was a UFO guy, all right? UFO's been chasing me since I was a little kid. All my life, I've been seeing UFOs in the day, in the night. Oh, my God, I've seen so many that it just gets old after a while. But that was my specialty. I was a ufologist, and I didn't really... I thought Nibiru was just, some lens flare. Everybody's taking pictures of lens flares, and I'm going, you guys, stop it. That's not it. It's a lens flare. And then all of a sudden one day, God shows me the real thing, and I'm like, oh shit, it really exists. Oh no. All right? And so does the much bigger nemesis back behind it. All right? So, that was the first day of Christmas, little spiritual gift, all right? That's the first gift on the first day of Christmas, was Nibiru and Nemesis being real, showing up, the dragon showing up right when it said, right before it stood before the woman, in front of the woman, 13 days in front of it. If you don't know about the Revelation 12 star alignment, go look it up. It really happened. That should have been more than enough to satisfy everybody's curiosity. And with that star alignment, when it happened, we were in a certain part of space to be able to look up at the heavens and see it. All right? In order for us to be in that certain part of space and have those stars line up the way they did, in perfect lineup, in accordance to that prophecy, that is a celestial signpost. We are traveling through space, and the Bible said when you get to this celestial signpost, you are now entering the point of no return. How about that? Let's put it that. We're now entering the season, all right? And this started right here, September 10th, the day before 9/11, on 2017, the anniversary of 9/11, okay? And everybody was, when this was happening, there was a huge hurricane hitting Earth, or hitting Florida or somebody. And everybody was all eyes on that, and all focused on the hurricane instead of what was going on up in the heavens. And I admit myself, I was watching the hurricane too. I come over and check this instrument, but it wasn't, I never saw this. God led me to it. And I was like, oh, I did not see that in there until you pointed it out, and then struggling for hours to finally be able to see this image. This is a three-dimensional image. You got to remember, out in space, this is three-dimensional, and we're trying to see a three-dimensional event. I'm trying to get it without the pointer in the way. There we go. Three-dimensional event on a two-dimensional screen. And I even drew a picture, a quick little picture reference. For those of you who can't see it, well, I know you guys can, but my viewers later on that watch this afterwards, some of them still haven't quite seen what I'm talking about. Now, this isn't totally perfect picture. I'm a terrible artist. I was trying to describe this while in a facility, all right, with very limited crayons and pencils and stuff. Okay, so here we go. If I can get this glare out of the screen. And scoot you back a little bit. All right, so this is kind of a drawing I did that represents our sun right here. Here's the sun. Here's that conduit of plasma that it's taken from the top and the bottom of the sun, slamming into this surface, creating a damage ring. This plasma hits this and spreads out in a circular fashion in all directions like this. And these rings, sometimes they spread out over it. They go boom, right over the object. And we've seen that several times on the radar. You'll see this ring and think that that's the magnetic field with the little object here, but then it goes over something much bigger, and it like spreads out as it goes over, like that, over these objects. This thing is so dense that it bends and absorbs light, all right? So it doesn't reflect light. These objects don't reflect light. They absorb light. That makes them invisible to our eyes. They probably emit some infrared, and that's why NASA can see them on their cameras, because they're still warm. They're still hot. They still have heat in them, so they can see it infrared. But any other wavelengths of light, especially, you see it just pulling it right off the sun and draping over it. Like right there. All right, that wasn't the best drawing in the world, but it was like a 3D representation that I was trying to describe for some doctors that got their heads so far in a book, they can't even have an open mind. Anyway, that's the first day of Christmas. Our Nibiru Nemesis, the dragon, also showing up in the Revelation 12, right before the Revelation 12 star alignment. Everybody was looking for it afterwards, because it said then another sign appeared, but it says the sign appeared before the woman. So here it is happening right there. NASA's cameras captured it. This frame is no longer out there anymore. And in fact, this series of frames, when I go right here, the frame we really want is the next one, and it's gone. You see in this pop-up right here, I'm clicking through the frames. The very next frame is missing. Selected, Signet resource, whatever. That frame was missing, but then after it, they came up with the rest of the data, all right? So I bet you that missing frame is the one NASA has a big poster of on their wall somewhere or whatever. But it doesn't matter, because I got this one. And this is the sign, folks. This, when you look at a bunch of, petroglyphs from ancient civilizations, sometimes they have this weird barbell looking type object with a circle on one end and a smaller circle on the other. This sign is in a lot of petroglyphs and hieroglyphs. Okay, so that was a little shocking too. That, oh yes, this is definitely a sign in the sun. Okay, right in the time frame it was supposed to be, and created this. All right, and then since nobody else saw it, he got my attention in a way that was I can't even describe to you guys. But imagine God pointing this out to you, and you discover this, and then not only do you have UFOs around you all the time, but then all of a sudden this stuff starts happening too. And you go outside and you see these giant faces in the sky. All right. And a lot of people say it's pareidolia. Yep. You can say that all you want. The mathematics of putting this face together, the formula for having the nose and the lips and the proportions and the eyes and everything just right, and the shape of the face and everything is a mathematic formula, and the odds of it formula actually coming to fruition are very high. Okay, so when you see a perfectly symmetrical face, and look how he uses the different colors to enhance different parts. Okay, I'll try to remember to leave a link to you guys know Third Phase of Moon. You can go over there. It's their latest little video too, all right? And one of their viewers sent this in, and this is precisely what I'm talking about, all right? These giant faces like this. So I know it's a little disturbing, but we're going to kind of keep it up there and get you used to looking at that, all right? It's another new image that we'll be kind of reading to, all right? So while we're looking at that, let me get my lighting back over here now and get ready to do a reading. Okay, so I had okay, yeah, here we go. I want to start there and end right there. All right, let me get a little sip here. Let's see if we can capture that. Yeah, that's about all the face we need right there. You guys can see it pretty clearly. Okay, here we go. All right. You can live as close to me as you choose. I set up no barriers between us. Neither do I tear down barriers that you erect. People tend to think their circumstances determine the quality of their lives, so they pour their energy into trying to control those situations. They feel happy when things are going well, and sad or frustrated when things don't turn out as they'd hoped. They rarely question this correlation between their circumstances and their feelings. Yet it is possible to be content in any and every situation. Put more energy into trusting me and enjoying my presence. Don't let your well-being depend on your circumstances. Instead, connect your joy to my precious promise. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go. I will meet all your needs according to my glorious riches, and nothing in all creation will be able to separate you from my love. The other one I was going to do was... Oh, yeah, here we go. Every time something thwarts your plans or desires, use that as a reminder to communicate with me. This practice has several benefits. The first is obvious. Talking with me blesses you and strengthens our relationship. Another benefit is that it disappoints instead of dragging you down are transformed into opportunities for good. Oopsie. Another benefit is that disappointments, instead of dragging you down, are transformed into opportunities for good. This transformation removes the sting from difficult circumstances, making it possible to be joyful in the midst of adversity. Begin by practicing this discipline in all the little disappointments of daily life. It is often these minor setbacks that draw you away from my presence. When you reframe setbacks as opportunities, you find that you gain much more than you have lost. It is only after much training that you can accept major losses in this positive way. But it is possible to attain that perspective. Yeah, there we go. Where's the other one I was going to read here? Oh, yeah, here we go. So, beware of overthinking things, obsessing about unimportant matters. When your mind is idle, you tend to go into planning mode. attempting to figure things out and make various decisions before you really need to do so. This is an unproductive way of trying to grasp control, and it's a waste of your precious time. Often, you end up changing your mind or forgetting what you decided. There is a time for planning, but it's definitely not all the time, or even most of it. Okay? So there is a time for planning, but it's not all the time, or even most of it. Okay? So listen to those times of planning. You'll hear that voice inside. All right, seek to live in the present moment where my presence awaits you continually. Refresh yourself in my nearness, letting my love soak into your innermost being. Relax with me, putting aside problems so you can be attentive to me and receive more of my love. Your soul thirsts for me, but often you don't realize what you're really longing for. Awareness of my presence. Let me lead you beside quiet waters and restore your soul. Just as lovers don't need to say much to communicate deeply, so it is in our relationship with me, the lover of your soul. I am your treasure. Sometimes you feel frazzled, but pulled this way and that way by people and circumstances around you. Your yearning for meaning and deep connection drives you into more and more activity. Let me try that again. Your yearning for meaning and deep connection drives you into more and more activity. Even when your body is still, your mind tends to race, anticipating future problems and searching for solutions. You need to remember that all of the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are hidden in me. Remind yourself of this glorious truth frequently, whispering, Jesus, you are my treasure, and in you I am complete. When you prize me above all else, making me your first love, you are protected from feeling fragmented. Whenever you find your thoughts straying, you can train your mind to return to the one who completes you. This gives focus to your life and helps you stay close to me. Living near me, enjoying my presence, involves seeking to obey my commands. I am telling you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. All right. So, I want your joy to be complete. Quite the display here, okay? And thank you for that, Jimmy. Thank you everybody for being here. Sorry for the creepy face, but it's the way you look at it. If you think it's creepy, then it's creepy. But it's it's creepy. But it's something that you guys are gonna have to start looking out for and getting used to. All right, and keep your cameras ready. You see a good shot like that, take it, send it to me. I'll put it on my video for you guys. I'll even give you credit for it, or if you don't want credit, we'll keep you anonymous or whatever. But I know a bunch of you ladies out there. I see your channels taking pictures of the clouds, and you're doing a great job. Just keep your eyes peeled, because someday you'll catch something like this, all right? And it's happening more and more often now. And another thing about this is we got locations. Where was this? Why was this over this location and not over me or my house all the time? All right. So this was Virginia. What was it? Hampton Roads, Virginia. Okay. Well, out in Virginia is the CIA headquarters out there. Well, it used to be at Langley there. So watch out, Virginia. All right. Watch out the whole world. All right. There's a good shot of it right there, I guess. Yep. All right. I think that's about it. I'm about to run out of battery anyway. So, that'll be it for tonight's show. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry if it's a little creepy, but we gotta cover this stuff, okay? So you guys get used to it, so it won't be such a shock, and you'll be strong spiritually when everybody else is losing their minds. Okay, so this is like a pre-training for before battle. We're in boot camp right now and getting used to the spiritual realm. All right. So that's it for tonight. I love you all. God bless you all. I miss you all. And until my next show, I will be back. I am back. Can't you tell?